to do our last session today here. Thank you for coming to e-Volution. And Suzanne Nelson, probably most of you were here for her first talk, but she talked about how video games change the perspectives of today's students. And now she's going to talk about how to leverage that change in your classroom.
Cool.
Take it away.
Awesome. So first thing I think is really important is that you guys, as teachers, you do not have to scrap everything and start over to reach your gamer students. Okay? There's already a lot of things that you do that are awesome, and you just kind of need to tweak them or reframe them. So you do need to reframe how you present that information and structure the classroom. I would recommend reevaluating grading systems and behavior systems. That's going to differ with grade level, so I'm going to hit it from the K-12 angle a little bit, and then it's going to be a little bit different at the university level, so just keep that in mind. We do need to recognize that upgrading to a computer isn't going to fix the problem. Newer, faster technology isn't going to make the problem go away. You also need to recognize that gamers are great economists. They do cost-benefit analyses all the time. We may not like their conclusions, but they are doing it. Okay? You do need to recognize that students will work hard if they know and perceive that success is attainable. If they actually believe they can get there, then they'll do it. If they don't think it's something that's within their reach, they're not going to bother. They're not going to try. You do need to recognize that kids are kids, or college students are college students. They just approach the world a little differently. And you should recognize that things are not going to go back to the good old days, whatever those are. There's no such thing as the good old days. We always look at the good old days. It's actually a historical thing that doesn't exist. This new way of thinking and perceiving is here to stay, so we should recognize that. And those of you who are in charge of training teachers, professional development for teachers or professors, it needs to be individualized or tracked according to their readiness and comfort level. One size fits all does not work, just like it doesn't work for our students. And technology professional development needs to be hands-on. So if you have a new technology and you're getting people to use it, you can't have someone stand up and be like, oh, you click this button and this button, because it's not going to stick. They need to be actively engaged with whatever it is you're working with. So this is the goal. We want excited students, and if you have older students, they look like that too when they're gaming, I promise. If you just got here, I have links at this URL. It is goo.gl/6EA_KHL. Okay, so let's talk about some of the nitty-gritty. So Beck and Wade, they came up with 7 habits of highly typical gamers, which was going off the 7 habits of highly successful people, So everyone can succeed. You gotta play the odds, learn from the team, not the coach. Kill bosses, trust strategy guides, so don't be a boss. Watch the map, can't see it, then ignore it. Demand the right team. So what do these habits mean, and what can we do? Okay, so let me, I think I can actually play this now. I'm going to go through the whole first part of my presentation. I'm sure there's a faster, easier way to do this, but I'm being stubborn. Click, 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 click. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Okay. All right, students believe that with hard work and diligence, anyone can win. So in their minds, they are already winners and they are already heroes. Okay, so what happens is they come into the classroom, and professors, this probably drives you nuts. They walk in and they tell you just how amazing they are and how they got it figured out. And if we tell them they're not so amazing, they get upset and they shut down because they know they're amazing, and the fact that you don't recognize it is a problem. Okay, so what we see as professors and teachers is that they are being cocky, they're being impudent, they're disrespectful, they don't know their place. Okay, so what's really happening is when a student's coming in and talking about how amazing they are, that's not for your benefit, it's for their classmates' benefit, okay? What they're doing is that they are telling their fellow students, their fellow gamers, that they can contribute to the group and that they are dependable and they can be relied on. So they're not trying to challenge your authority. What they're doing is they're communicating to the rest of the class that, hey, I'm reliable, I can help out. So one of the things that we can do is to recognize that the student is trying to be successful, and we should work to make each test meaningful. That doesn't mean it has to be fun, but it has to have a purpose behind it, and we need to scaffold learning so students can build on what they already know. Okay, so this idea of everyone can succeed goes to the whole idea of social gaming. I'm only giving you a couple. I see some people smiling. Okay, so YouTube has a gajillion gamer channels, and literally all people do is they get on their Xbox or their PlayStation or whatever, and they record themselves playing, and they narrate what they're doing, and people then watch the videos and they learn how to play the game. Twitch does recording, but it also does live recording, so someone can log in and people can follow, so it's a great way to test out, hey, do I want to buy this game, or like, how do I get past this part? People can, it has kind of like a Twitter feed board, like a chat board on the side. They can ask questions and people can give comments. So it's very social and everyone can succeed, and that's the whole idea behind this sharing of information, is that yes, you too can beat this game, and I'm going to show you how to do it, okay? So there's a lot of problem solving in the gaming community, which can lead to problems with academia, but we'll talk about how to work around that, okay? There's also this idea that you gotta play the odds. So students recognize that there's always an element of chance. Sometimes you get lucky. So like in the Mario games where you run around and you're hitting bricks with your head, and sometimes you get lucky and a coin pops out, and so sweet. Newer games, it's randomized, you don't know when that's going to happen, but what that does is like it encourages people to keep trying things over and over again to maybe they'll get lucky, which can be frustrating for us, because you guys know that whole, I don't know, Einstein said it, like the definition of idiocy or whatever is doing, what's the quote? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, in video games, that happens. It happens. So sometimes students do the same things, and you want to shake them and like, this isn't working. Why do you keep doing it? It's because maybe they'll get lucky. Okay. They also do a cost-benefit analysis before doing an assignment or behavior, and that's why they do some things and not others, and we kind of scratch our head. Okay. So sometimes we perceive them as being lazy and unmotivated, or being unpredictable. Like, why do you keep doing this? It hasn't worked for you yet. Why would you keep doing it? So if a student perceives that the odds are against them, they will put forth little or no effort, because why bother? And sometimes they're trying to figure out what's going to work in their favor. So teachers can make grades about what a student knows or understands, and remove any luck from the grade. So if you take out the luck, because what they're doing, if they keep trying things, they're like, well, maybe if I express this opinion, you know, she'll like me, or maybe if I write it this way or add this picture, she'll love me. So take the guesswork out of grades, and you're going to get more consistent work from your students. Make the grading policies clear and fair. Provide new opportunities for a student to demonstrate knowledge or understanding after a failed attempt. And this goes back to the students aren't going to try it the first time if they know that if they fail, they're not going to get a second chance. So philosophically, that comes into the question of like, okay, well, do we do mastery testing? So there's a lot of questions there, and the way I approach it's a little bit different, so I'll talk about that in a second. Make future attempts worth more than past failures. So if they get if they fail their first grade or their first test of the semester and they have 3 more tests and there's no chance for them to pass the class with that 1 F, they're just not going to try. So you have to make it so that success can be built in and let them know that they can keep going on. Positive risks on a variable ratio enforcement schedule. That's what casinos do. It's very successful. That's why people keep pulling it, because at some point they might get lucky and they might get something and they might not. So when you just want to make sure that whenever you're rewarding your students, whether college or elementary, that the reward isn't predictable, because otherwise they won't do anything for you unless they know there's going to be reward attached. And those of you who are parents, I'm sure you understand this, because you tell your kid one time, hey, take out the trash, they don't do it. You tell them again, take out the trash, they don't do it. Hey, if you take out the trash, I'll give you $5. They're never going to take out the trash until you give them $6 or $7, and it keeps going on from there. So you have to be careful with that. Be consistent with negative behavior with all students at all times. That doesn't mean you discipline everybody the same, but you call everybody. You don't let some people get away with it and others not. Does that make sense? We treat our students differently, based on what they can handle, but that doesn't mean some people get away with everything, get away with murder, okay? And take the chance out of being redirected or punished. So you can separate the behavior from grades. Video games often have side quests, and this is why it takes me forever to finish a game, because I am always trying to do the side quests. So like right now, I'm playing Assassin's Creed 4. I'm not very good at it, but I'm having fun. There's all these chests that have nothing to do with the game, but I keep wanting to find them and open them and get points, because that's what I want to do. So grades, the game should be based on academic achievement only. However, you can use this idea of side quests to your advantage as a teacher. Behavior, and I'll talk about that. I know I keep saying that, but I will, I promise. Behavior should be evaluated using a different system. So again, this K-12 citizenship points, bonus bucks. You shouldn't dock a kid his grade because they're being rude in class. Those should be two different things, two separate things. For example, late work is a behavior. It does not impact how much a child knows or understands, so you need to address that accordingly. Tie behavior to privileges, bringing in a snack, doing a free time activity. Reward exceptional academic work with extra recognition, so put it on a wall. Maybe share it with a colleague, invite somebody in. Positive phone call home, submit work to a contest. But if one kid is going way above and beyond and does this amazing project and no one's nowhere close to that, the other kid shouldn't get B just because this one kid went way above and beyond. Recognize it accordingly. And so that those other kids don't, think that they did all that work for nothing. So side missions are not required to beat a game. However, they often give you what's called experience points, so you can improve your character and you can do cooler things, which makes the game easier to beat and more fun. So what I do in my classroom, I teach social studies. I'm actually a fairly traditional way that I teach. I have the kids read homework, I have them take notes, and then the next day we go over the notes. However, I assign some points for my homework, but regardless of how long the section is, it's like 5 points. And then when we go over homework, I teach them how to highlight, how to add things, and I tell them you need to add to your homework. And the reason my homework works is because I make my test based on skills and not memorizing facts, which everybody hated in history. The kids can use their homework on the test, which motivates them to do their homework. So it works great because then they're learning, they're paying attention when I'm going through notes in class, they're adding information because they know they can use it on the test. The actual test, they have to use that information and apply it, like they have to put together timelines, they have to figure out cause and effect, and I don't give them that information ahead of time. But it is impossible for them to do that if they haven't done the homework and paid attention in class. They're gonna fail. And so we just did our first test and I had some kids totally panic. I'm like, listen, it's okay. Now you understand how the notes work and why they're important. And so they're buying into this idea, okay, yeah, I really should do my homework, even though it's worth 5 points and the test is worth 70 points. The homework's actually worth more because it helps them. Does that make sense? So that's how I've kind of worked it out. So you might need to figure out for your classroom how that's gonna work. But that's kind of how I do it in mine. Okay, turning the classroom into a game. Some people like this approach. I'm going to show you guys this guy's website. This gentleman, he teaches middle school, 8th grade, I think, and he teaches history. And this is his syllabus, and he has divided his class up into stories, quests, missions, bosses, ninja mode, game mode, scoring, achievements. And so he lays out what all these different things are and how kids can get points. So the kids can get experience points. There's a main mission challenges, side mission challenges, and he has it figured out for all of his units. And so all the kids start out with ninja mode, and when you're in ninja mode, you can use these extras, you can use your computer, your iPad, etc. But if your behavior goes out the window, you lose ninja mode, and you just get to use the book. And you have to earn back that in ninja mode. So that really works for his kids. So a ninja grade, ninja level is 90 to 100%. Samurai level is 80 to 89%. Apprentice level is 70 to 79%. And peasant level, nobody wants to be a peasant, is 60 to 69%. And middle school kids, they dig it. They love it. I haven't done this, but it works great for him, and the kids are on it, and they want to know about their XP. It's just homework points. So he's gamified his classroom, and he uses some traditional methods. And so he's actually turned his syllabus into a whole, it's unbelievable, and unlike any other, does that whole thing. So he's made it fun for his kids, and because he's a big gamer, and so that works for his kids. That's not my style, but, that's okay. Whoa, do I have 2 of these open? Oh yeah, I do, duh, okay. All right, there's an article by Jordan Shapiro who talks about how you can, what kind of gamer teacher are you? There's the dabbler, the player, the barrier buster, and the natural. I'm not going to go through them, but it's really worthwhile. And it kind of talks about how teachers perceive their students in gaming and how they use games in the classroom and why it is or is not effective. Okay, so learn from the team, not from the coach. Students believe in group work. It is best if everyone is skilled and they believe in learning by doing. So then you put them in a group and they start complaining because they're with people they don't like. That's what we think, but it's really not. They complain about mixed groups, and then they just dive in without practice. They just start working. We perceive them as socially inept or mean and reckless. What's really happening is that students want to succeed and see their chance of success diminish when placed with less skilled individuals. Okay, well, mixed groups are important. We know that as educators. Also, students are trying to learn on the go, just like in a video game. So how do we get students to work with others who may not be as skilled as them, because we know that that's valuable. We don't want to target students out. So there is a way to address it, okay? One is the scaffold instruction. Structured group work so students can share ideas and resources, but you need to grade the student on his or her individual work, knowledge, understanding, not the group's outcome. So when my husband's playing Halo or whatever and he's killing people, there's what's called a KD ratio, which is a kill-death ratio. So you're in teams and you're shooting at each other, and there's a team that wins and a team that loses, and there's a lot of yelling and at the TV and at people and whatnot. But at the end, he has a score, and it says kill-death ratio. And if he has a high KD ratio, then he's ranked higher than other people. It has nothing to do with whether his team won or lost. It's based on his individual performance, and that affects his overall rating within like the whole gaming community. So yeah, winning or losing the game, helps or hurts a little bit, but what really matters is the KD ratio. So your kids need to understand that you are going to grade them on their performance, not on the group's outcome. So their contribution is what matters, and if everybody else in the group slacks off and they get stuck doing all the work, that's not necessarily going to reflect on them. Let them know that they're going to be graded as individuals, and encourage pair work so they can start developing those relationships. Also encourage students to work alone, but to coach their classmates as they go along. So kind of like that elbow thing, preschoolers, they work next to each other, but then they can lean over and talk to each other a little bit. And then explain how practice will prepare them for beating the level, the assessment. And here's the lesson from games. Even in video games where people play on a team, each gets an individual summary of their kills, deaths, resurrections, goals, etc., and then it's rated as an individual. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I would like you guys, because we need a little mental break, to, at your table, and if you're just a couple of you and you want to join another table, that'd be great. I want you to talk about and brainstorm ideas for consistency, freedom, and immediate feedback that you can give your students either at the K-8 level or the 9 through 16 level. So based on what we've talked about so far, what are some strategies that you can come up with for helping your kiddos out? And go. Okay. So move around. Okay. So, I'm hoping that you guys had a productive conversation, and I'm running low on time, so I'm going to scooch on ahead. So please forgive me, but we are going to break and talk again real quick about some other things as a group with your table, because I really want you to be able to take some of this home. And I want to share my information with you guys afterwards, so maybe we can, I don't know, create whatever. You guys can add comments to the Google Doc too. Give me your information, and we can go from there. So another one is Kill Bosses, Trust Strategy Guides. So bosses are obstacles, and guess what? You as a teacher are the boss, so don't be the boss. Try to be a strategy guide. Bosses are obstacles between them and the end goal. So sometimes students can treat teachers as bosses or someone to be defeated, and we think that they don't like us very much, and there's some animosity. What's really happening is that students don't understand the role of teachers, and society can send the wrong message, especially with TV shows and sitcoms and whatnot. You know, there's so much negative stuff out there about teachers, and so we need to reorient ourselves as a strategy guide. We need to coach students on how to get to the end goal most efficiently and give students cheat codes to life and school. So give your students tools and shortcuts. Symbaloo.edu.com, what it does is it lets kids or teachers create bookmarks that look like, well, I'll just go to the website. So it just basically creates little apps or whatever, and so they can create bookmarks, and it's all visual, so it looks kind of like an iPad or an iPod, and then the EDU segment lets you as a teacher create these and share them with your students so that you can give them a guided website or whatever. So that's kind of a cool tool. But even little things like teaching them that Command F or Control F on a PDF document or a web page, you can find a word like that and you don't have to read the whole gosh darn thing. They love that. Or Command plus, Command minus, zooming in or out of an image. Those little things, kids eat them up, and you'd be surprised at how much we assume that they know those things, but they don't. And so giving them those tools. Digo.com is a great website. It lets you annotate on pages and save the websites. And it collects everything for you. Show them how to pin tabs on Google, so like here, so it's not taking up all that space, and you're like, hey, look, now I don't accidentally shut it, and they're like, what? No way. And so just those little things that we take for granted, be that strategy guide, and they will love you. It's crazy how much, like I taught them how to print, set up their printer so that it would do double-sided and staple, and they're like, what, it staples? I was like, wait, I'm gonna show you how to do a 3-hole punch, and they're like, what, 3-hole punch? And they were totally freaking out, and we just take it for granted. So be a strategy guide. All games, if they're like, almost all games, if you're first person, they have a little map in the corner that tells them everything they need to know, like where the bad guys are, who you're in conflict with, where the buildings are, and students get frustrated when they're penalized for rules or grade deductions they weren't aware of. So like if I assign a paper and they give me this great history paper, but there's punctuation issues and spelling issues, and I deduct points, they're like, wait a second, I didn't know about that. So just be upfront with them. They're not being lazy, they're not being entitled. What happens is when the students start to feel like the game's against them and you're just trying to find anything you can to get at them, and so you just need to be open. And if you don't specify something, don't penalize them. Just say, oops, I didn't specify, next time do this or you'll be penalized, okay? Be clear about your expectations. Use painfully explicit rubrics. I hate rubrics, they stink. It really does help kids, it does. Post your rules and expectations and guidelines, and frequently review the rules, and if they change, you need to let them know, okay? Students believe, and this is a good one for those of us who teach humanities, that life, like games, are transparent. Students then become confused, baffled, even furious when thwarted by unseen forces in families, companies, communities, and organizations. So we perceive this as a privilege issue, that they're spoiled, they're sheltered, they have learned helplessness. What's really happening is that students haven't been explicitly taught that sometimes life is unfair. And so when injustice happens, they become frustrated. So what we can do is we can help them process these unfair moments, and we need to do the best that we can to be fair and open with our students, and then explore everyday injustices with them in the world and help them to cope or even become proactive, because that's not their worldview. So we need to teach them that sometimes life is unfair, but that they can work with it. So this last one, I need a little vocab check. Noobs versus noobs. So this was new to me, okay? So there's actually two different things. So noobs, these are zeros, they are unskilled individuals who are unwilling to learn, expect others to do the work for them, and then expect credit for the good work they didn't do. Noobs, OOs, are bad. However, noobs, EWBS, they are unskilled individuals new to the game who are willing to learn from their mistakes and want to advance past their current skill level. So noobs with 2 zeros are a waste of time, but noobs, EW, are worth helping. So teach your students how to be the second kind of noob, not the first kind of noob, because students will shun those who don't try, but yet they bend over backwards to help classmates who want to improve their skills. So we as teachers, we're confused, because one minute these kids are so nice and they're helping each other, this one kid, and then they're just mean to this other. So we need to know that students want to be successful, and if they perceive that someone is slowing them down and not trying and not getting better, they're not going to waste their time or effort. So be deliberate in structuring your group activities, be deliberate in creating groups, and follow the group and grading practices for habit 3 and teach your kids those skills. Okay, so that's actually the end of my presentation. Before I stop though, I want do we want to do questions, or do you guys want to share ideas out with each other? So all those who want to just ask questions of me real quick, raise your hand. Okay, looks like we're going to do share. So I want you to come up. I want you at your table to find 2 ways to represent information or a lesson for your students for however it is you teach. And if you train teachers, great, do that, whatever it might be for your profession. So go ahead and do that, and that's how we'll wrap up, and I'll say one more goodbye before the 3 minutes is up.
And
Okay,
be
go.
sure to fill these
Yes.
out. And if you were here for the other session when I didn't remind you, fill them out for that too.
Yeah. Okay. So chit chat for the next 3 minutes. I'm going to hold you to it. Go. Put my email up here.
I had to ask Christy. I think it's at altitude at 6:30.
That's downtown?
Yeah, it's on the second.
It's on Second.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, it's downtown. You go down Grand. And
Where's the dinner?
Altitude, I mean, yeah,
altitude at 6:30.
6:30.
Second from what?
It's like Second and Garfield. I think it's
Yeah, it's across the street.
the library restaurant, right?
Yeah, the library restaurant.
Not the public library.
All right, well, it's 4:30, so you are technically all dismissed. I just want to say thank you so much for coming and listening to me for a whole hour. I hope you got something from it. If you have questions, my email's right up there. I would love to communicate with you. And if you're interested in a copy of my PowerPoint, I am more than happy to share it with you. Just send me an email and I'll send it off your way. I'm cool with that. So yeah, thank you so much.
There's more food out here. Yeah. Like new food.
Lots of new food.
There's New food. Thanks.
Here, Suzanne, I'm giving you mine right now.
We'll make a list.
Oops.